Welcome to Native Bidaské, Native News Online's weekly spotlight on the people making news and leading change in Indian country.
Chimigwich for tuning in to another episode of Native Bidaské. I'm your host, Levi Rickert, citizen of the Prairie Band Potawatomi Nation. And we have an interesting guest today, a friend of mine who is actually a tribal citizen of the Little River Band of Ottawa Indians based up in Manistee, Michigan. It's Jim LaPorte. Jim, how are you doing today?
Good, Levi. How are you, bud?
I'm doing well, and I'm glad to hear you're doing well. And you're here to talk about you're part of something called Bright Path Sports Partners, and you're a partner in that.
Sports Partners, that's right. Yep.
Tell us about your new endeavor.
Well, it's a private equity firm, Levi, that we put together really to bring Native American capital, which we know there's lots of out there and a lot of sophistication within the tribes, but to bring Native American capital with institutional investment, as well as high net worth family offices into the four major sports. That's originally how we started it. I had a partner who had been involved in the Cleveland Guardians opportunity and had a lot of experience in negotiating these types of deals. And his name's Phil Ciano. And we got to talking one day. He was representing myself and another partner. He's an attorney. And we started to talk about the opportunities out there and the way these teams have continued to go up in value and continue to go up in value. And we just said, listen, there's no Native American capital in this area that we were aware of at the time. There's some scattered about, but we thought it was probably a great opportunity and use our expertise to advise and guide tribes into this area.
Well, that's great. And you recently, Bright Path became 40% owner of a football club in London, right? Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, the opportunity just came about probably a year. It's probably been almost 2 years ago now, to invest in this European football club, soccer. I guess we call it soccer.
Yeah.
European football club.
You clarified that because I was going to do that. When we say football, we think of that other ball.
Exactly, that's right. Yeah.
But over there, they're talking about football as being soccer. Yes.
Yes, and they're very passionate about it too. Extremely passionate.
Very much so.
But yeah, the opportunity was presented to us, and we had already looked at an NFL opportunity and a couple different opportunities in Major League Baseball, and it kind of led up to this deal coming our way. And fortunately, one of our partners, Jake Mazzano, was very well versed in the European football clubs and how they operate, et cetera. And so we had some good in-house counsel as well, and we went out and we raised capital, and it took a little over a year, and we were able to raise $150 million and ended up buying 44% of the team with some obviously key anchor investors into our fund, and fortunately during that period of time, from the time that we engaged with the team. When they were in League One, they got promoted to the championship division, and then got promoted to the Premier League this past May. So we're excited to be a part of something that's been so successful, and we're going to continue to look for opportunities in the market that hopefully will do the same.
Yeah, and obviously Native Americans, we've been involved since like 1988 in casino gaming, Indian gaming as it's called, and a lot of online lending, different endeavors. But buying sports teams kind of a new thing, right? And are these just private individuals, or tribes that are doing the same thing?
Well, it's private individuals, right?
Yes,
and funds that people that have collectively put together larger funds that invest and go on and invest in these teams. And now we just think it's something that the tribes really need to get involved in. Geographically, we're located in some of the largest cities in the U.S., and we've got professional sports teams around us. And if we can utilize that, especially as I ran casinos for nearly 20 years, and the association with sports teams is obviously with sports books, et cetera, that are going into the casinos nowadays. There's just such a great relationship there, and our ability to utilize that relationship. They were close to a stadium. Well, as an operator, as a casino operator, if I'm building player development, I'm going through player development, trying to get people into the facility. What better thing than sports, or being able to entertain your high end players at these particular games, et cetera. So I just think not only would it benefit us from an investment standpoint, but I think it would invest us from a strategic standpoint too, if in fact we've got those types of facilities near our properties.
Mm-hmm. And I will say this. We'll go back to the name of your company, Bright Path, and Native people have had an affinity towards sports going back to Jim Thorpe. Tell us about the name of
No doubt. I mean, Jim obviously was considered to be the greatest athlete ever, and when you understand his story and him attending the Carlisle Indian School, and after running away probably from several schools that they had tried to put him in prior, but then he ended up in Carlisle, and Carlisle itself is obviously a very sad story, and a lot of kids didn't make it home from that particular school, and not like that isn't prevalent around any of the residential schools, but to do what he did and to become an Olympian and a professional baseball player, professional football player, really the first president of the NFL.
That's a great point. Most people don't know that, but
right, exactly. And this was a guy that had his medals stripped,
yes,
from the Stockholm Olympics, and were just reinstated actually just a few years ago in July. After over 100 years of him not having his medals, those medals were reinstated and given to his family. So we think it's a great story. Nobody better to center yourself around than somebody like Jim Thorpe, and with his native name Wolfahuk being translated to Bright Path, it just made sense, and we thought we could communicate that to Native country.
Yeah, I think that's exciting, and I understand there are some tribes that actually own some pro teams out there. And I was at the NAFOA, but it's really the Native American Finance Officer Association in San Diego, just a couple of weeks ago, and that they actually had a panel about it, and 3 or 4 people were talking about tribes being more and more inclined to look at those types of investments, and we do have that affinity to sports, so it all makes sense. And I remember the panel, they said that a lot of them are really taking a hard look at the women's NBA, the WNBA. So is that what your understanding is?
Yeah, and you've already got one tribe that actually owns a WNBA team, the Mohegans, and they've owned it for some time now. So yeah, you're seeing it across all sports. I mean, women's, men's, etc. But and I think I'm trying to think of the other tribe. Sequan actually owns a professional soccer team. So it's been gradual. I guess it depends on how progressive the tribe is and how the tribe looks at their investments outside of their casino operations. We all focus on that, a lot, because that was the first real true economic engine that we had, and which has provided, great for a lot of the tribes. And but as time goes on, sorry, didn't turn my phone off. I apologize.
That's okay.
As time goes on, we can't depend on that. I mean, we're obligated as natives to take care of the next 7 generations, and that requires us to diversify, and we need to get out into other things other than gaming, and utilize our gaming and our cash flow to take advantage of those situations. And I just think it's so important. I look at some of the larger tribes, Seminoles, Chickasaws, Choctaws, Cherokees, the Navajos, they're all out there, and all the California tribes, they just do a lot of different things because they've got the capital to do it. And for us, I think, to be able to take care of our people down the road, we've got to build a strong nation and a strong economy within our nations. And this type of investment and getting out and diversifying is just absolutely critical.
Yeah, and I took note, and I'm going to say it's been a couple months ago now, but they had a listing of the worth of some of the NFL teams and what maybe the buyer or the owners bought it for X number of years ago, could have been a couple of decades ago. The growth, the how much they have matured in terms of the value has gone up so substantially. It's just downright amazing. And as I recall, the Dallas Cowboys are worth $31 billion. That is substantial money.
Yeah, the Cowboys, I think probably today, I mean, who knows, right? I think 10% of the Miami Dolphins was just sold yesterday on an $8.1 billion valuation.
Wow. You say only 10%?
Just 10% of the team was sold.
Wow.
That's correct. Yeah. So, when you look at that, you think, well, probably the Cowboys are worth, who knows? It just gets to be worth more and more and more. And ultimately these sports leagues and et cetera, these are scarce assets. Mm-hmm. So there's not a lot of them. There's more and more money chasing those deals and trying to get a piece of them. And as that chases, just like anything in life, if there's not much of it to go around, it continues to go up in value. Mm-hmm. And so essentially that's what's happening in the market. And, but just like us when we had casinos, when we were originally given casinos or the opportunity to run them, we didn't have the expertise.
No,
we had to hire it outside, and take our time, work in the business, just like anything, grow up in the business before we could take it over and run it ourselves. And it's the same thing, I think, in the sports area. It's going to take us time. We need to buy minority interest in these teams. We need to get a seat at the table. We need to understand how decisions are made and what strategy is utilized and what makes a team successful or not successful. So ultimately, one day, we can stroke a check for one of these teams. One of these tribes is going to go take 100% control of the team, and they're going to know how to run it. And to me, that's exciting. I can't wait for those first things to happen. Absolutely, we all want our tribes to succeed and do well.
But your advice early on is maybe willing to buy in as a minority owner and then learn the ropes, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're complicated businesses, and just like anything nowadays. And I think it would pay and do us well to just put a toe in the water, and really get to understand the business. Make sure that we're in significantly enough that we've got to say we can get ourselves at the table. Those types of things are going to be critical for us to understand and to build our knowledge around sports, so that we can, when it's ours, we want it to be a successful business. So ultimately, we got to understand the tools that are going to drive that.
Mm-hmm. And I guess the point we want to reemphasize to our viewers is that tribes are looking hard how to invest beyond gaming. Gaming has been, for the most part, very successful for a lot of tribes, but it's time to reinvest or diversify in their portfolios, and sports is a good bet, if I can say it that way, no pun intended there. But hey, I've always noticed, like, some of the major stars want to buy in on these sports teams. I think Magic Johnson, doesn't he own like part of the LA Dodgers and baseball? Even though he's a basketball player, he owns part of the Dodgers, and you see their names floating quite a bit, and because they understand the value of buying into a sports team.
For sure. I mean, they've been around it forever too, and it's obviously their passion and ultimately what they enjoy. So a lot of them that have been fortunate to take care of their capital as they were players, or to do the right things when they made money, that kind of money, and then they get the opportunity to be an owner, and that's I'm sure there's nothing better for those guys, so they can stay in the game and stay around it.
How are there any tax advantages given the status of tribes being sovereign nations that you know of, or I'm not so sure. I don't think you're a tax attorney, but maybe you
No,
know.
not at all. But obviously we don't pay taxes, right?
Yeah, correct.
So ultimately, anything that would potentially be taxable wouldn't really apply to us anyway. To be honest with you, Levi, I don't know if I could answer that intelligently, but if I had a good answer, I'd certainly give it to you. But no, I don't. I really probably something we should look into. But ultimately, for the tribe's sake, given the fact that we're not in a position to pay taxes, it's really probably doesn't make a difference for us.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And do you see this as a way to give back to tribal communities? I mean, obviously, if it's part of a tribal business enterprise, hopefully the profits are there. But I see a lot of advantages, especially on the Southwest. You see different tribes getting their names out there, but they bought into some of the stadiums of that in Arizona. But I think it's a way for sports teams, and I know the Lakers has a good working relationship with Pechanga, right?
Yeah.
They give money back to the tribal kids and that, and it's just getting the youth involved with sports is really critical, I think. And
well, I think just for the discipline part of it, and I think it's so critical. Honestly, my management ability, having gone through my career, I could really credit sports for that. Honestly, being around teams, having to build a team, having to be part of a team, going out trying to be successful as a team with all of our different personalities and all of our different talents, and some of us were faster, some of us were stronger. Some of us could hit the corner of a net and some of us couldn't, but as a team, we were very successful. And I just think for the kids growing up today, understanding those things, and it's only going to benefit them later in life. And but certainly, these partnerships that we've got, you look at some of the bigger tribes and names on stadiums and et cetera. Well, ultimately, we paid for it more than likely, right?
Yes.
And but I think those partnerships need to be utilized, and there needs to be back and forth between any kind of enterprise that we engage with or market with or contract with or what have you. We should always have a focus on what we can potentially give back. So I think it's absolutely critical, and whether we can do it with our own tribes or other tribes, but I think it should be part of, Levi, what you do and what I do and, what our kids do. And it's just something we've got to pass down.
Always, and always educating the future generations. And we believe in the 7th generation model, right? Where
that's right.
We do things for the 7 generations. I honestly do believe that buying into sports teams is a good way for tribes to really help spread that and preserve the investor. Let me say it this way: I'm saying it awkward, but making those investments so that there will be money there for the next 7 generations. So
right. It's something we're all obligated to do. We don't always do it. We don't. We sometimes don't make the best choices with our money today, but it's certainly a focus that should be spread around for sure.
And by the way, how's your team doing over there?
We're actually doing well. It's a big leap going from one division to the next, it's just awesome. They're exciting games to watch. Absolutely love to watch.
Yeah.
Soccer's it's a little bit of a slower sport than hockey that I grew up with, but once you truly, and my daughter played it competitively too. So once you understand the movement of the ball and why they're moving it and et cetera, it's even though they don't score a ton, it's actually an extremely exciting game.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, even here in my town, I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and they are building a soccer stadium, anticipating bringing a professional team here. So, seems to be the trend here in the United States. Now, yours is over in London, Bright Path Sports Partners, and we've been talking with Jim LaPorte. Chimigwich, Jim, for coming on today. And what's your last words you want to say?
Well, just everybody, I'm going to be calling all the tribes, so I want everybody to expect a call.
I run a businessman. There's nothing wrong with that. Keep it good, everyone. And we'll have another episode of Native Bidaské next week. In the meantime, it's election season, and if you're not registered to vote, go register. And I'm not going to tell you how to vote, but it's critical that we vote in elections and be part of the system. We're going to pay taxes. We might as well vote. So, Chi Miigwech, see you next week.
If you appreciate what we do here at Native News Online, we invite you to donate to support our continued work covering Indian country. You can scan this code with your smartphone or go to the link located below this video to donate today. We greatly appreciate your support. Please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And be sure to scan this code or go to the link below to subscribe to our newsletter. Thank you for joining us today, and please be sure to join us again next week for another episode of Native Bidaské. Chi Miigwech.